I found the crypto cheat code, 8 coins to buy right now. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet. And, not to buy right now. It's just a title, guys. So Bitcoin is still in consolidation. It's kind of coiling up. We are trying to build a base here and keep the 200 EMA close so we can rip right over it to the previous highs. However, if it does not hold within this area, I imagine we might get a little push up and some rejection off that 200 EMA, doing another sweep to the downside, potentially all the way down here at $93,000. Keeping in mind Bitcoin was pennies at 1 cent or at one point in time. Moving right into QNT, it's actually looking pretty healthy from its decrease and decline in price. The RSI came back up to the 50. We are building higher lows, but this is not exactly a trend line that we would be trying to hope for support. It's way too vertical and can be easily broken and retraced down further. But as long as we are building higher lows within this range, everything's still looking good. It's just a waiting game at this point for QNT. The 200 EMA is the only thing holding it back in this downward trend line, which are meeting at the same point. So whenever we get over one, we're most likely going to cross over the other at the same time and expect that push to the upside. It's just a waiting game to see if we have a further decrease in price with Bitcoin and potentially have a better opportunity to enter or stack more around the $78 mark. The reason that is put in there is because this is where we had some resistance in previous history and got some support. And then once we got over that, we pushed up over the 200 EMA, tested as support, and then had the further increase in price and some major entries here around $100. Moving on, Dash. This is a prime example of support and resistance. It had that major increase in price, and I was talking about the previous day that I was not looking to enter at this high range at 126. I was stating that around 76 we may have that continuation and we may have that reduction in price from that 128 right back down to the 76, which there we are. Why is that important? Because let's go back in history. Right here we had some resistance at 71. Right here we had some resistance at 77. And further in history, we had some support here from the previous touches. And then we got that increase in price around 136, which is right around the 128 where we had just tapped. And beyond that, the next real resistance may be here at 176, maybe 250. But since we did have that major decrease in price, it's very good to keep a healthy market. The volume is decreasing, the price is decreasing, so a lot of people are just selling off, getting their profits. However, keep in mind that we've been holding above the 50 in the CM Guppy, so that's where we may get some support as we have multiple things showing that this is going to be a potential support trend line. Sorry, not trend line, support line in general. Could we see a further dip with Bitcoin's pullback? Yes, personally, I'd like to see that. It would give us a better opportunity to enter here around $53. However, if we hold this as stability, we may get some consolidation before pushing back up to that 127. Potential little bit of rejection, but the only real next resistance is all the way up here at 266. So pretty good ROI. The main thing to keep in mind is volume is decreasing, price is decreasing as well. If we want a divergence, we want to see the price increase and the volume decrease. It's not essentially that because we see it's coming down and the volume is coming down as well. The RSI is coming back towards the 50. It's just getting a little bit healthier for the next move up with the rest of the market. Moving on, ZBCN. This is some support here, the upward trend line. We got the resistance here with the downward trend line. This black upward trend line was showing the previous support, and we see that when that was broken, we had that major decrease in price, tested it again, and then got rejected. And now we are trying to hold this as support. If that breaks, let's kind of see with Fibonacci. 618. The next stop would be around here at 0.0021. which is the 0.786 on the Fibonacci retracement. That is a possibility for us to see something like this, where we have the liquidity sweep, bear trap, test this, and then probably test it again before this is the real line that we need to be breaking. Beyond that, there's some more upside potential. The data doesn't really show much, but there's a lot of good backings and utility behind ZBCN. RSI is a little oversold, but nothing too crazy. I think we could have another push down before ultimately pulling back up within this range and breaking that. We could see a potential move up 139%. Keeping in mind, we may have a little resistance here at 0.007. And also you could draw a little bit more resistance here. You could draw a little bit more resistance here. So that's kind of what we are expecting with the liquidity sweep. Pushing back up, get a rejection here potentially, but it's tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 times. So this downward trend line is pretty weak. And we could expect a push up here, maybe test that once more before pushing back up to the previous high and beyond for ZBCN. So not a bad bet for that coin. Lightlink Left Iris or something was explaining that they're in correlation with XLM, Stellar, and XRP, XCN, all that good stuff. Volume is pretty ridiculous from what I'm looking at. We are trying to build a base off of this area and trying to create a new upward trend line. I don't think we're going to be holding this. I think we might test a little lower. So I'm kind of waiting to enter this. If I do enter it, you can trade this on MEXC, same as Tornado Cash, 20 USDT for using that reference link, and it's just free money. Always bringing up Tornado Cash because it is up over 32%, had about a 62% pump. Since the last video, I was stating you guys should potentially buy, but it's not financial advice in any way. It's pure opinion, as I am not a financial advisor. But when we can hold above this downward trend line, I believe we are going to be pushing up over that. The main thing we need to be keeping in mind is this volume. So with this volume, you got sellers and buyers, and with that money being flooded in here, we want to close above this previous volume, which could be today. We could see that reject, but the 200 EMA is a beast and keeps slapping this thing into a new dimension. So if you haven't bought into Tornado Cash, use the reference link, trade on MEXC, and get free money. MEXC is pretty cool, actually. They hand out free trades, like $300 in Bitcoin future trade, and then once you close it, the money's yours. If you lose it, no big deal. It's just gone. It's not your money. It's just free. And everything MEXC is doing is pretty cool. But moving on to CTSI, I'm losing my breath and getting a headache from doing this video. CTSI still needs to break that 200 EMA, but we see this downward trend line has been broken. We tested it as support. We could potentially test it again with Bitcoin's pullback. So keep CTSI on your radar. But once we get over that 200 EMA, we've seen some substantial gains as soon as it breaks over that. Holds it as support. This was about 210, but going even further back in history, as I explained in the previous video, it was a long drawn out period. The first pump was 1,000% before getting retraced, and then ultimately 4,000%, pushing up to $1.74. Currently at 4 cents. $1.74 for every nickel you got. Yes, please. That is a very good opportunity. And this is very thinned out. The CM Guppy is weak. The 200 EMA is weak. So it's just a matter of time, a little bit of volume for this to push up, and has the potential to be pushing up to the 25 cents or even 46 cents before getting some rejection. Keeping in mind there is a little bit of resistance here within the 10 to 15 cent area. AMP. Also same thing, 200 EMA needs to be crossed to start seeing some potential entry, and volume needs to pick up. Same thing, CM Guppy's thinned out, 200 EMA is exhausted, and it's just a matter of time before it pushes up towards this downward trend line and the potential increase in price is more or less 300%. Pretty good ROI. Lastly, Zora. Not much to say. It's consolidating. I like to draw a middle trend line from here. You just kind of eyeball it. Something like that. Maybe a little bit lower on this side. Boom. That's it. If we can get over this line here, we could see the push up and test this downward trend line again. We got a lot of Fibonacci in here. That's kind of ridiculous. The true Fibonacci is this. 618 is right at that downward trend line. And we got some resistance here at 0.082 or roughly 83. The drop down could be all the way down here at 0.026. So waiting on an entry for that if I ever do enter that. That's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Use the reference links. Get some free money. Get some free trades from MEXC using that link. And good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you on the next one.